Hi everyone and welcome. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Wednesday, October 26th, 2022. Actually, it's in the wee hours of the morning, heading already into October 27th where I'm at. This is show number 173 called Giant Sky Gummy Bear. And you see a hint of that here on the cover slide. If you looked at any of my YouTube shorts, there's a previous one where I feature this and you'll see where I'm headed with it shortly. I also have some alternate cover slides. Oh, and the images this time around are all above the skies of Miami and happening October 1st through October 26th. So as always, I have some alternate cover slides I was toying with. This one's called Cloud and Quotes Thunderbird. A very intriguing image of something that was very unusual happening in the northeast skies of Miami at sunset. And then this one is called Sky Hole, happening in the southwestern skies after sunset, already dark. Some very wild things were happening above the skies of Miami, as always. So I hope you enjoy some of these scenes coming up. All right, before we get there, I have Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day, page number 1. And I'm just kind of just summarizing, again, my YouTube shorts. If you saw my previous show, I covered 1 through 76. Just I want to have a place where I have everything in one place to document where my YouTube shorts, what they were, where they are. And so this time we've got number 76 through 90. Now, what I'm bringing to your attention on this one is all of these shorts, they're only usually 15 seconds when I have music, or up to 60 seconds if I'm talking about something else. But here, I just want to bring your attention to the one that talks about smog. It's kind of like the whole scene, the way it unfolded in the sky at sunset was reminded me a lot of the Lord of the Rings, or the Hobbit, actually, Hobbit scene. Anyway, the song that I selected was from an Italian flautist I just happened to see on the list, and a very talented guy. I selected that music, and I noticed all of a sudden that the views started to skyrocket on this. Now, as you can see, everything around it is far lower, and actually this channel has been oppressed from the get-go. Just ever since I started, it was clear I was being shadow banned, and that, you know, when I saw real-time views, likes, and subs decreasing all at the same time, you know, I already knew the writing was on the wall with that. So that's why I can never really truly look at views and count those, including subs. I have a feeling there are far more than what you see listed. So we're an interesting group of people over here. If you've subscribed, thank you. If you haven't and you just tune in once in a while, I thank you equally. So as I always say, welcome to everyone, whether you're new or returning to the channel. I really do appreciate your time here, spending some time looking at some of these things with me. Now back to this. So this thing started skyrocketing up to over, 1,600 views. I was pretty amazed. And at the same time, the likes on it were skyrocketing up past 50. And then, of course, as expected, this was in the wee hours it started happening. When I woke back up, then it had already decreased from like over 50 views down to what it is now, I think like 27. And so it's just a pretty sad game they're playing with on this platform, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's continue on. I hope you've had time to check out some of the shorts. Some are more tongue-in-cheek for fun. Others are showing, what's going on in the skies and just presenting it in a different way. And as I've said on a previous show, this allows me to do little quick sketches of what's happening each day and get it out to you sooner than if I do one of my, compilation of doing like a whole month of shows trying to catch up like I am now. All right, so Words, Wisdom, and the Spirit of the Day, page 2. I just have here messages from the Acorn and the Ti Plant leaf. So that's the Ti Plant. It's this beautiful leaf back here. It turns bright magenta at certain times of the year, at least here in the tropical, subtropical climate I'm in Miami. It does also, it's very typical in Hawaii. And in one of my really early shows, I cover a lot about this plant and all of its various uses, including it can be woven into baskets and even made as clothing and shoes. So it's a very useful plant. But what I want to focus on, I just have this more as a reminder, a placeholder to talk about something. So the acorn in itself, this is just beautiful, as you can see. It's bright green. The texture on the cap of this thing is really exquisite. And I mentioned in a previous show, if you can almost imagine yourself holding this acorn in your hand and kind of holding it up toward your heart space, and close your eyes and just think of somebody out in the world who either needs an extra loving boost right now. It can be a friendship or, a closer love relationship or family member, or if you just want to hold it to your heart space and just wish out good for the entire world, that love and that extra light in that heart space can just expand and grow and grow and grow exponentially. It's just a nice thing to do. And this image just shows such a tactile, like you can, almost feel it without even having it physically in your hand. That's why it's so great with such an envisioning or visualization technique, just to imagine feeling this, almost like rubbing your finger on this rough texture, the nubby texture, and feeling the smoothness of this, and just hold it in your hand and wish such good things out for the whole world or your specific person. That's one little note I wanted to talk about this, but also I wanted to talk about this. A lot of us are finding ourselves caregiving or looking after loved ones that, let's just say, may not be doing well lately as a result of certain things that were happening in the last 2 years. If you're in that situation, and whether you're dealing with somebody who's sick or maybe even worse, dying, and you're walking them home, so to speak, I just want to let you know, if they're suffering at all, say in a hospital situation, and perhaps they're even all drugged up on morphine or something to ease the pain, I just want to give you a little technique that I've had to help somebody that I know and love in this situation. And I just want to remind you to take something like this acorn, or whatever you have in your environment around you in nature, like a rock, a nice smooth stone, or maybe it's a crystal you've purchased, or even like a beautiful, like small little piece of wood that's smooth, just anything that feels good in the hand, and bring that to your person that you're looking after. And again, if they're in a hospital or at home being fully medicated and in pain, have them hold it in their hand if they're able, and just ask them to, even if they can't move their head or move their body, just ask them to envision all of their pain going into that little object. And actually, you can even ask that little object mentally first, with telepathy, hey, do you mind serving as a healing vehicle for this person? And, most often things in nature, they will lovingly say, yes, it's no problem. So anyway, have your person hold this in their hand, either hand, whatever intuitively feels right, and have them themselves envision all of their pain going and focused and transmitting into that little object they're holding, and just giving it all their pain and having that little object lovingly take it away. This is a technique that's not new. People might use like a paper clip in the pocket or any other manner of objects. I just think the ones from nature are just more beautiful, like a beach stone or river stone, something like that. Anyway, I just felt that's important to mention right now, because there are a lot of people in the world right now facing this situation, and it really can help. That little mental technique can really help just take the edge off of some pain for somebody, and also just to know that they're not alone. And since you might not be able to be by their side 24 hours a day, when you're gone, they can at least have this little object either next to them on a little table side or still in their hand or something. And it's a little thing, but it can go a long way. All right. Anyway, that's just another Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day message felt was important to share. So now we'll get into the sky observations portion of the show. All right, we're starting off looking north in the afternoon, and obviously what caught my attention here was this very strange looking quote-unquote cloud. Now I'm going to step back again, where you have a mixed bag of maybe people joining for the first time or people that are returning. So if you're returning, bear with me. You know this drill, this speech by now. If you're new, what I'm doing here is observing anomalies, oddities, and just plain out strange things happening in the skies lately. And when I put cloud in quotes in the lower right-hand corner on the little title of all these slides, that's saying it's very unusual cloud activity, which is very highly suspect of being a cloaking craft of some kind. So I do invite you to look at my previous shows to get more detail on what I'm doing here. So I'm going to present an original photo, and then either alongside it or in the next slide will come an enhanced photo, where I've just taken the photo and just upped or lowered different attributes of the photo, such as color, saturation, brightness, and contrast, maybe sharpness, and that is it, just to draw out and better highlight what's actually going on, of also what I just sense with the sixth sense of what is going on in a given scene. And as I always like to say, I don't treat it really as the intuition is the sixth sense. To me, it's the first sense. But anyway, you know what I mean. So here we go, just things were looking odd. I also look at movement, color signatures, a whole lot of things. So you'll get the gist of it as we move along. So we're going to look at A, B, and C, just kind of see what happens with enhancement. And you can just see something really odd is going on, because clouds don't generally have like a walnut shape with some kind of curved pipe coming out of it, which then also curves back upward like some kind of sine wave, or, so it's just very, very bizarre. I'm going to leave it at that for now, because we have so many other more interesting things to cover coming up. So here we go. Again, just a lot of strange movement. The left is the original, the right's the enhanced version. And it just was kind of turbulent, but also with weird bright spots happening behind it, backlighting it. And again, it's looking north, pretty late in the afternoon to be looking like this. There shouldn't be any bright light source behind it like that. And when we look to the right, I couldn't really get at a lot more, but this is looking kind of triangular in form, like an arrowhead shape. And there's just a lot of weird movement that shouldn't be going on like that if this is just a typical quote-unquote, regular sky over Miami. And again, this is all really low altitude, and this is a tropical, subtropical climate. And normally we just don't have things looking like this. And I've been in this area for many decades, so I know the difference of what went on before and what's going on now. Now, this just was looking plain strange, just after sunset, looking southeast. And this form started to emerge and morph and change as I was observing it. What caught my attention was that D, we have a straight line. Looks like it has a little bit of shadow to it, and like a highlight point up here. So, with enhancement, this is what we see. Look at that thing. It is really sharp. So we know this line is sharp with shadow. So we know there's some type of object cloaking in this thing. Over at 8.1, we get these weird little like pebble textures, on some kind of surface. And the whole thing, because it was morphing and changing rather quickly, tells me that, and after observing this for a few years now, I just see some of these characteristics of how these things kind of emerge. They show you little bits and pieces of things, and then they like disintegrate. So you got to catch these things in the right moment to observe, the cloaking craft. So we're going to zoom in. Sorry, we're going to look at 8.1. We're going to zoom in. Here you can see that kind of texture. Very, very strange, and that doesn't happen in a natural cloud. And then over here, when we look at the other side, there's that straight line again, and there's another object here at the tip. So again, I suspect this is part of a wing of a craft, and then something really weird. This would be what I would consider the tail section. It's doing something very odd as well, not typical of an organic natural cloud. Now we're looking southeast over in that area as well, and again, we see a sharp line, something looks like it's reflecting. We've got shadow below it, and then another hard line edge here with a curve to it. So you better believe we're going to look at it with enhancement. And here we go. So when it's all grainy like this, it just means it's a little bit past what my camera can really get a good grip on when it gets to be toward the evening. But here we can see enough that this is not typical cloud behavior for this area, nor is this smooth, curved line this low in altitude. That just doesn't happen, at least it hasn't happened in the past. When I look at D.1 down here, it also looks like I see a cylinder with the end of a pipe right here down below. So there's enough odd things going on here to tell me it looks like we're dealing with multiple craft cloaking. All right, now this gets very interesting looking west. Just after sunset here, and again we get these weird, hard lines with, shadow below and kind of more reflective surface above. And then this thing at A looks like it's coming in or out of cloaking state. It's a little smudgy and blurry to the naked eye. It looked like that, and so you got to question what's going on. So let's see what it looks like with enhancement. Now here, we see much more rigidity to these lines, okay? And again, that doesn't happen with a natural cloud. And then up here, it looks more smudged out. So again, I say it's either cloaking in a different way or coming in or out of state of phasing or cloaking. Down here at E.1, we have more or less a triangular form with straight lines to it. And so again, it's enough to tell me odd things are going on in that scene, and worthy of calling some of this cloaking craft activity. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a distorted view. The bottom is the original. It's a panorama, but it's not going to be perfect, but it gives you the gist of what's going on. We look down here, and we just see different types of cloud patternings. I mean, totally different. These are kind of elongated, and then we have something that's a little more spherical. It's all very strange. This is the moon over here to the left. So we look up above and we just see this extraordinary color signature, these bursts of red coming from somewhere while it remains like a white glow below. So look at my description box below if you like to see what some of my thoughts are and what could be causing this red-pink effect. Okay, now we're still looking west, and this was just odd shape with odd texture to it. It's a pointed elliptical form, perfect symmetry on this thing, and with enhancement, I see like something kind of like a point bulging out here, that white spot. And, it just, again, it's just acting peculiar. It's not acting like a normal cloud. It even looks like it has a vapor trail off here to the right going up. So see what you see there? Here it is, taking all color out to see if our eye-brain connection, can look at this visually in a different way and pick out different elements and not be distracted by color. And here I can just see we have some weird impressions over here that look like holes, something cut out of this thing. So I'm going to say we were dealing with some intelligent design happening all in here, but see what you can see. All right, the one caught my attention. What really caught my attention was A, and we look to the right at the enhanced version, and we see something looks like it's brewing or forming, something with, again, definite structure to it, hard edges. And then we get this weird burst, this color signature over here. It looks like this thing maybe came flying down, over to the right, or this is just something emerging that's part of something bigger looming beyond that we can't quite see. Now, what's weird is that where this form is doing this, there's a stick-like thing back over here where my cursor is, and there's one in the front, and they're parallel to each other, these two sticks. So to me, this is absolutely intelligent design that we're dealing with. And you will hear me say this. I'll say, pardon in advance, you're going to hear me saying it's cloak and craft, cloak and craft, cloak and craft. That's what I see going on here. But obviously, as always, if you have any impressions that it could be something else, whether it's based on any kind of, it's technological thing or scientific thing, or whether it's just pure fantastical fun, like, hey, that looks like a Venus flytrap, whatever, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. We're zooming in again, and once again taking away all color just to see if we can look at this thing in any different way. To me, it almost looks like an open serpent or snake's mouth with like fangs. Really bizarre, this thing. Anyway, just from a cloud play standpoint. But again, I see that this arm and this curved arm, they are, parallel to each other doing the same thing. So that's, rigid structure of some type. Okay, this one gets really interesting. This is one of the alternate cover slides. So I decided to take some photos, even though it's kind of past my camera phone range, after just post-sunset. And this is looking south-southwest. And I saw the moon. I thought, I'm not even going to really bother trying to focus in on that with my camera phone. It doesn't do well at night. It'll just like blur it out all white. But I thought I'd take a picture anyway because these little cloud forms started looking kind of strange to me. And I didn't even see this kind of hole, this gaping hole here. I was kind of focused on these things. So when I did the enhancement, I'm like, oh, holy cow, look at this. We have an opening. Or is this an opening? I think it is, but it also could be an object that we're seeing kind of backlit, or, an object cloaking in some weird way. So is it a hole? On the alternate cover slide, I put sky hole, question mark. Also, I put hole because it looks like this little chunk of a cloud, like, flew out of that thing, or, this did and then this did, or I don't think they're heading up to it. I think they came out of it. But again, if it's not a hole, then it's just also just another object sitting there. Now there is another object, maybe it's a hole with an object in front of it, because look at this fuzzy, the edge of this thing is overlapping what's supposed to be the effect of the quote-unquote moon. And so obviously there's some type of object cloaking here. Anyway, the more you look in this photo, the more you're going to find, including like more rigid structure happening in here. And so have fun looking at this and see what you can see. Again, pay attention to color signatures and other characteristics that just aren't, normal quote-unquote clouds. For instance, this is no natural cloud form that I have ever known in this area for many decades. It's just not. It's not even in the books of what's this kind of spherical chunk of a cloud. But anyway, see what you see in that scene. Okay, this is also not a typical cloud. Look at this thing. It's very serpentine-like. It's like when you're a child, at least in the United States, growing up in public schools or little art classes. The first thing they do is have you roll out in clay like a little snake-like thing and then wrap it around and make a pot. And that's exactly what this reminds me of. That's no natural cloud, and especially not this insanely low in altitude in the sky. And actually, I didn't update this. This is looking actually northeast, not south-southwest. All right, so with some enhancement, yeah, east-northeast, I got it right down here. So look at this. We not only see interesting color signatures, but look at this. What I say, these are also cloaking craft traveling with this thing, because they're all in the same angle, you know, more or less, and moving along. And then we got one back here, and these are just not typical cloud forms. So to me, it's highly suspect that these got to be cloaking craft. Also right here, I see something bulging out as if coming out from this veil of quote-unquote cloud. I call the cloaking material plasma, and just for now, until I can come up with a better explanation of what could be doing a really good cloaking job on these things. And so you also see a different color signature happening in here. So it looks like something is just totally swathed in this cloaking material, hugging it, because we just see these little bumps and pieces coming out of this thing too in weird little ways. See what you think's going on in that scene. All right, now we're looking back where we were before, and I'm sorry I didn't update all of the directionals on this thing. I just wanted to get this show done and catch up for October. But now we're shifting our view back to south and southwest. So here's that moon I showed earlier. We did have the hole right here where my cursor is to the right of C. So now that hole is gone, but now there's a hole up here I'm just seeing. So it's still looking weird, so we're going to look at it with some enhancement. And that's where the hole was, okay, which I'm calling hole. Again, it could have been a backlit object, hard to say. But just look at all of the quote-unquote activity happening around here. And the color changes. So we got indigo purple down here. We have purple magenta up in the middle. This turns to rust and brown and even reds. And what is supposed to be right around the quote-unquote moon. So I am at a loss for words of what is going on in here. It's a flurry of activity. Different camouflage types, maybe even different camouflage waves, like electromagnetic wave activity, or some kind of sonic waves pulsing through this thing to, you know, create a disturbed field so you can't really see what craft might be cloaking is my best guess. But see what you think. We have weird kind of structure here. It's looking a little bit triangular to me down here. But see what you see. This is really interesting because at first glance you might think, well, what's wrong? This is just cloud, although to me this is still not typical cumulus cloud. It disintegrates at the edges, looks very artificial. That's nothing that I have known in this area for many, many decades. But what catches the attention is how straight these lines are, and that we have a piece here that's riding parallel to this or docking up to this. So that caught my attention at A, even though all of it is just acting kind of strange. And so we look with enhancement, and we can very much see that this is a different element or animal than the rest. And it even has two stick-like legs that, again, are parallel. You don't have that with natural clouds. So I often say it, reminds me of like a remora to a shark, kind of hugging it and maybe docking below. I gotta think that if we're seeing a little element like this at the bottom, all this line where you just see all this dark blackness is got to be a bigger cloaking craft above, and this thing is just like attached to it, is what I'm thinking. But again, see what you see in this scene. You're going to see other weird little things popping up. And like I always say, I'm just trying to hit some of the highlights in each of these images. I'm sure there's like big things I might inadvertently miss. I'm not trying to. There's just a lot to cover and not so much time. All right, so let's keep going. We zoom in on this thing, and again, we kind of just see these legs that are parallel to each other. So to me, this feels like it's the back of a craft, and this would be the front, almost like a little submarine with a split tail behind it. Some little element here above, rounded front, nose in the front. I'm calling that to the right. And then we got this weird thing over here. If you look to the left, upper left, these look like tubes or pipes. And a lot of times I'm wondering if they're either machine parts associated with the bigger craft, or sometimes I'm wondering if they aren't just kind of standalone little objects that float out and create some of this artificial cloud cover or the plasma to hide some of these things in the sky. See what you think about that. All right, now I'm looking over to the northeast, and I see this X in the sky, and that's nothing new. We've seen this time and time again. And usually it's craft or objects that are going out there, and they're creating what we call a chemical trail or chemical filled trail, but sometimes it also just might be kind of a smoke and mirrors trail. I'm not convinced that they're all hazardous when we see some of these trails in the sky that linger around for hours or even a half hour. I'm not talking about condensation trails, which we all know trails behind a jet and evaporates very quickly within a couple minutes. These things stay and spread across the whole sky and turn it really white. Well, in this case, I'm seeing this X right over an object that I think it's trying to distract and be a red herring so that we can't notice this this object forming or, kind of hiding. There are concentric lines, all parallel lines to a little object back here. And so anyway, there's a lot going on in this scene. There's a triangular imprint in the sky here where this trail is leading to also. This is a weird little thing popping up here. So there's a lot of strange things going on. So I'm going to remove all color. Here's that object I'm looking at B.1. It almost looks like the top of a horseshoe crab, if you're familiar with those that scuttle along the beach, or some type of ancient trilobite. That's what it looks like. It's got these horizontal or, kind of concentric lines. It has texture and depth to this thing the more that we look. So right away I'm thinking that this X is trying to distract you from really seeing, a craft emerging here or hiding here. Now, 8.1 is a sky imprint, triangular in form, and so I also can't help but wonder, is some object here shooting this trail out from it, or is something cloaking down here and trying to shoot at whatever's going on in this triangle? It's all really bizarre. There's so many possibilities with all of this. The way it's disturbed over here too, I see the end of a pipe, I see the tip of what looks like a triangular form. So I think we have like a little mini skirmish or battle going on in this scene as well. I see the end of a pipe over here too, so it could be something shooting at that one, something shooting up here, or vice versa. See what you think. And this thing's just kind of caught in the middle. It's really bizarre, but the more you look at it, all of this could be very well be cloak and craft and galactic issues going on. The more that you see, some of these things might even be more than what we're just thinking are trails. All right, speaking of trails, though, we have another distorted view. It's a panorama looking west. So north is to the right and south is to the left. And the bottom is the original photo. The top is the enhanced version. We'll just spend our time on the enhanced. So, things were looking really red and pink again beyond this whitish glow. So see my description box of what could be causing the red-pink in the sky. And again, this is post kind of just after the tail of sunset. And so I did see some object making this huge trail across the sky, and it was going from the southwest to the northeast, and it was getting thick and spreading across. So it was no way, shape, or form a condensation trail. It was some kind of thicker trail that lingers around the sky for a very long time. And I did observe it thickening and spreading across the sky for over 30 minutes. So I'm just going to say on this one, there's a lot of weird little oddities happening all over the place. I'm going to move along. I'll leave this to you to kind of look at more at your own time. But I did create a short that I set it to the oldies, really oldies song, Happy Trails, excuse me, by D.L. Evans and Roy Rogers. So check that out if you like. And you can see the video of this object creating the trail real time, at that point, real time when it was doing it. Okay, here's what I mean at letter A, where the trail starts to expand and thicken and just stay in the sky. And then what was interesting, that was part of the one I just showed you. But then down here at C, we have another quote-unquote trail coming and opposing it almost on the perpendicular, and something happening in the middle. So we look with enhancement, and you can clearly see the trails, whatever they are. And then this thing is on angle, so it's really weird. So to me, there's something either there present and very heavily cloaked in all this really heavy particulate, or something's about to emerge. But either way, it's just the whole scene is just really bizarre. This is a bizarre scene too, looking west. And what caught my attention is this looks like a perfect, end of a Roman letter, capital I, at the bottom, because we have something moving one motion this way, the other one coming across perpendicular. We have this very strange movement and form of whatever that's supposed to be. Everything is all kind of disintegrated and choppy and very artificial looking. Again, in no way, shape, or form does that look like natural cloud. Even down here is a little bit more of a natural cloud representation, even though I do believe that is also not very natural. It's extremely low in the sky. And why is this coming across level, straight? Well, more or less, well, this thing is coming on a sharp angle. It just doesn't happen with normal cloud systems. And all of this is insanely low in the sky. So with enhancement, look at this. It looks like this is a totally different material peeking out of what I'm calling plasma. On top of it, this thing too behind. And again, clouds do not form perpendicular, forms. They just don't. And then here we've got these little objects sticking out. So I think we're glimpsing machine parts coming out of a thick veil of artificial cloud. And the artificial cloud is further wrapping whatever's going on in here. So see what you see in that scene. To me, it's very clear that we've got cloaking, multiple cloaking objects, or this is one overall craft with some kind of side, I don't know, outrigger kind of like balancing wing or something, or it's an arm with two separate docking craft, which I think is possible because these are looking like arrow tips, you know, like elongated triangular forms. Anyway, see what you see. To me, it's just all very bizarre. We're going to look at it a little bit closer with a little bit different enhancement. Again, this form cannot happen or nor be created by natural clouds that we know on this planet. And these types of things are happening more and more lately. And then look at this. What is going on here? And in here, it just gets more bizarre by the minute. This is even doing like a Y-shaped thing now, you know, just really strange. Enjoy having a look at that. Again, if you see some interesting stuff and want to comment in the comments below, by all means, feel free to do so. All right, now we're looking south-southwest, and this was all very different cloud texture and behavior versus this. And this is all happening right next to each other in the sky. No clear explanation for this. There's no wind on this day and low altitude, neither there either. So this looks like something else is sweeping out, like its own independent system. So we're looking at that with some enhancement, and you can just see this is a totally different character of quote-unquote cloud than whatever the heck is going on over here. So I always wonder too, this has got to be, we're dealing with all types of different cloaking craft that cloak in different ways. And over here it looks like at E.1 we have a very dark imprint of like a triangular shape form or craft. And then back in here, you know, what's going on here with this figure and this like stick-like thing, and this is parallel to this, and this is coming in perpendicular to it, forming a right angle. So what the heck is going on there? I'm going to say it's absolutely, we're dealing with engineering objects cloaking of some type. And then same thing over here at D.1 gets really strange. You know, you can tell there's just some type of denser object cloaking back in here. You know, especially here we've got a rhombus-like shape with very straight edges. So it's got to be some type of engineered object. And yeah, when I say cloaking craft, I do mean it can also be some type of cloaking object or instrumentation, just something that we don't know what it is, but it's cloaking, and it's of an engineered type object. So again, we see a little more glimpses. It's really kind of hard to tell exactly what is going on here, but there are enough different, very vastly different pieces in this overall scene to say something is going on. Now we're going to look to the north. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't update this one either. No, I did. I got it. This is northwest, west-northwest. So what caught my attention here is this backlit triangular form at B, this strange form at A, and other weird stuff going on at C and D. So with enhancement, we see it a little bit better. You know, at least B and C and D, this gets washed out a little bit. But this is also, this scene is featured in one of my shorts as well, so you can see what A.1 is a little bit better. But what the heck is going on here at C.1? We have, you know, a couple of concentric lines parallel. We got this weird movement, and what is this thing? You know, like this whip-like tail trailing from this thing. Really, really bizarre. See what you see in this scene. There's a lot more going on in here too that I'm pointing out. There's a, you know, corner of a sky imprint of a triangular form. Something happening here as well. Have fun digging around and seeing what you find in that scene. This one I'm only going to touch on a couple quick points. There's a lot of strangeness going on here too. This is really, really low in the sky once again when you look at the original. We look to the right, and this weird thing starts coming up vertical, you know, like a peak. And then we have these weird forms. Again, these do not look natural, with like these fingers coming out of this thing at D.1. And then A.1 is starting to look like its own strange animal. So anyway, the whole thing was really strange, but B.1 really caught my attention. And we're going to zoom in on that B element here. We'll look to the right. Look at this thing. It's like its own little thing stacked on top of other types of clouds. It has its own consistency, its own coloration. Just really, really weird. And what the heck is going on at BB.1, this thing, and CC.1? You know, it's coming kind of along horizontal. Looks like the end of a pipe here as well. It's just strange. The overall thing is just strange from top to bottom, and including the colors, all different, even though it's all in the same vicinity. Okay, now this is looking northeast, and what caught my attention from afar was this whiter element kind of hiding, ducked out behind this bigger quote-unquote cloud formation. But look at A is, okay, on its own strange because it doesn't match up with this thing in front. But B, also, what the heck, it's doing its own thing. So let's check it out with enhancement, and this is why it really caught my attention. We're talking, this is really pure white, so it's a very different object than what's going on with the rest of the quote-unquote cloud. And I talk about it every time. The more you look at the rims of the clouds, the top, the profiles, the more you're going to start to see cloaking craft that are perched on the top. They're like using it as a little landing pad, and they hide behind it. In one of my earlier shows, you can really see it on the cover. It shows like a rainbow type craft, just, ellipsoidal, perched on the top of the cloud rim. And there are many other examples too in my other shows. Now look at B.1. We see little holes and weird little things going on here. What the heck is this thing? Why is it forming like that when everything is low in altitude and not windy? I'm taking away all color just to see if we can see it a little bit better in any different way. I'm going to leave it here for now. I mean, a lot of strange things are going on in here. We have these little points of light, and with shadow below, it's a curve, it's a hard line. To me, there's enough in here to say that there's some kind of engineered object that's not a natural cloud going on in the scene. All right, this is just a regular scene looking down, grounding ourselves down a bit, of a duck. I just loved the way that the way the sun, the colors in the west were like kind of turning. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. The colors were extraordinary happening beyond to the west. They were pink and lavender, really beautiful, and caught the puddle after it had just rained. You can see street markings, painted, street lines here, and things flooded up pretty quickly, and so the ducks came running out. Anyway, I just liked the scene, and again, I did a YouTube Shorts set to "Love Is the Seventh Wave" by Sting, if you want to check that out. All right, now we're looking northwest, and I'm not really I didn't even put any little highlight letters and numbers up here. I'm just going to have you look on your own and see what you see in here, but they were these weird striations coming at a sharp diagonal out of the sky, while everything else is not like that. So we're going to look at that with enhancement and see what I mean. What the heck are these? I have no scientific nor any other explanation of what could be causing that. And again, it's extremely low in the sky. You don't often never see these. I don't even know what this is. See what you think it might be. I'm going to go back. Again, you can pick it up with the naked eye that there's weird streaks. And then here it is. See what you see. All right, here's one more panorama. It's a little bit distorted once again, but we're looking west. Again, excuse me, north is to the right, and south would be more toward the left. And anyhow, what is going on here? All this different type of cloud activity. Up here in the upper right, I call that staccato cloud, where everything's choppy, fuzzy, and a little blurry. And I suspect again that there's bigger cloaking craft above that sends out electromagnetic wave activity or other kind of signals to make everything camouflage in the sky so you cannot see the craft. B.1, we got a weird hard line coming here. Excuse me, because we have like a dark sky beam shooting up. But there's just a lot of weird stuff happening here. And what you're going to see too, in particular, are the weird shadows cast, because with light physics, like there's no way these shadows could be forming based on the light sources supposedly coming from behind. So to form shadows like this, the light would have to be coming from the front view. So it's very puzzling. And here you see a little bit more about what I mean. On the left is the original. So this whole huge thing is supposedly being cast from, as this being the object. But in order to get the shadow back there, the light source has to be from where I'm standing, but it's happening from the back. So haven't figured this one out. If you have any good ideas of what's going on, let me know. But it's kind of like a shadow impossibility from my point of view. Anyway, see what you think. And what gets interesting is later it morphs and changes, and the shadow does not match whatever would be in front. And again, this shadow can't be cast from the reverse, if you get my meaning. All right, so now we look at this, and the shadow morphs and changes, and it's got these like weird fingers. And even if, the shadow could be cast somehow magically like the other one was, these don't even match up with this. So something strange, really strange is going on here. See what you think might be going on the right-hand side. You can see things a little bit better. You know, there's no angle that can create these long fingers off of these two little nubs. So something strange is afoot. And see what you think is happening in the scene. I don't have any answers, but I can tell you, look at B.1. Looks like some smooth object is sitting back in here, and some other strange objects sitting right in here. See what you see. All right, we're going to zoom in again. Here's that shadow. It's a quote-unquote shadow. I don't even know what it is. Can't be a shadow, you know, based on the light physics. And then we see a little more. Something might be going on in here more than meets the eye. Okay, here's just pure fun and also pure head scratcher. So the left hand is looking east and is the original. Okay, so, but I see this really clear, defined, quote-unquote, cloud object, you know, in the distance. And this thing has to be pretty big because it's in the distance and it's really low. And then there's a totally different system, quote-unquote, of cloud happening above it. So we look to the right, and with enhancement, we see this thing is looking more and more like a hardened object, cloaking down at 8.1. And also this incredible staccato-like disturbance happening up here. Like, just think of a lot of energy oscillating to create interference, so you can't make out what's being cloaked behind this whole big thing. So you can start to make out this hard line of a triangular form. Also harder lines with shadows happening in here. So I did a little tongue-in-cheek on a YouTube short. I titled this something like Gummy Bear falls from mothership and almost gets hit by a plane, because a little plane, tiny plane. Oh yeah, giant gummy bear falling from mothership almost gets hit by tiny plane, because there's a little plane passing by, so you can see the scale of all of this. So I do invite you to go look at that short so you can see the scale. Anyway, we're going to zoom in and take a real good look at what's going on here. But this alone is just so bizarre. We have this thing moving on at D.1 in its own trajectory, while this is going in another trajectory at C.1, all while B.1 is like this, like I said, this triangular form with something else happening down here with lines to it, like a smear. And this is all to the naked eye. You know, you can see everything else is in sharp focus, just something really weird is going on here. So we're going to zoom in a little closer. And here's that line, which is, you know, kind of showing me some rigidity of triangular form. This thing again, everything doing its own thing, little weird pieces popping out here and there and here. And then what is going on at 8.2? You know, just mystifying. There's no cloud shape I have ever seen that is like this. And we see two perfect, you know, it's almost like a boomerang shape or triangular shape, very hard lines, very symmetrical. We start to see two little points here, also symmetrical. Something going on in the front. What the heck is this thing? And look at how detached it is from any other cloud in the sky. The nearest one is this thing, which again I suspect is a bigger cloaking craft. So we go in even closer on this thing, and I exaggerated the color saturation so we could see what's going on. And we have blue, we have cyan, we have some, you know, golden things happening in the front. What the heck is this? It's a rigid shape. Okay, this is like the tip of an arrow. It's symmetrical more or less. You know, so that implies, and not implies, it's more than implies, it shows its intelligent design. What this thing is, I have no idea, and it gets more and more bizarre by the minute. So here's another zoom in. This is the cover. I zoom in even more, and these look like pipes with a hole at the end of it. And this is some weird, like, cone-like thing coming out. It almost looks like if this were a person, you know, the gummy bear with goggles, and like a carrot nose, like a snowman. And look at this thing. Looks like some kind of, camera or something. I mean, some type of instrument object. You know, with these things, again, maybe these are pipes. These three things are pipes or something. Regardless, I'm really stumped on this thing. So I don't think that the blacker territory is any kind of hole cut out, like a portal that these things are floating in and out of. I think this is an object, and that these are just other objects floating in front of it. But hey, I'm open to some great ideas on this one. I mean, you see at the edges, it looks like, you know, plasma's kind of wafting, I like to say wafting in front. So I do think all the black is a hardened object. And maybe it's sending out some instruments, or these things are attached to this thing and are cloaking in a different way where they're exposed, but this thing is not. You know, look at this weird little thing. You know, it's a straight line. Again, I'm just really stumped. We got a triangular form up here. Anyway, that's that for that. I have no idea what that was. Let me know if you have any good ideas. So here's, I think, the continuation of that overall cloud form. And now our little gummy bear, giant gummy bear is gone. But then these things start to emerge at C and D. So C is a triangular form, D is a hardened ring, partial ring. And this is what we get. So again, I think this is like a triangular or wedge-shaped craft for sure. To me, this would be the back and maybe some vapor trail coming behind it. The tip down here would be the front. I see enough in here to imply structure is being, cloaked. And maybe, the cloaking is projected out, like maybe the actual hardened craft is just this really dark area down here, which I think is the case. Actually, I kind of see an echo of this. So what I think is that this is the craft that we're dealing with. And all of this is kind of interference to, distract you from the fact that the core is the craft. And that this is maybe like a toroidal field or something it's traveling in, a little force field around it or something. See what you see. I don't know what this ring is doing at D.1, nor what C.1 is doing. It's an interesting story here, but let's check it out with some more enhancement. And I don't know, I'm still stumped. It's a rigid form for sure. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 pipes are coming off the spine of this thing. Okay. Other weird things happening in here. Don't know what's going on at C.2, but it's obviously a symmetrical shape. Here we're going to zoom in on that ring-like thing. I'll go back a minute. Okay, we're going to zoom in on just this D element. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you follow my cursor, pipes. These look like holes at the end of these things. And then this looks actually like a hole at the end of a pipe as well. I don't know what's going on here, but it's symmetrical. Like a stick like here, whatever this object is. Any thoughts? Let me know. All right, now we're going to look to the southwest. Again, it's that kind of post-sunset time where my camera has a little bit of a hard time grabbing things, but so it'll be a little grainy, but you get the idea. And look at this. We have like an incised, what do I want to say, like territory. This cloud material is like coming all around, and this thing looks like it's just cut out of it, pretty precise. We look to the right, you can see it better. I had no idea what was going on in the scene. Looks like a strange object kind of coming off back here with a really straight edge along here. Still pretty mystified. Don't know exactly what's going on. But we'll come in closer and closer. So to the right, we're zooming in even closer. Looks like an object is springing up out of here. Another object is springing up over here. I don't know what's going on with this object, but there are 2 points that look, again, like a rigid design, symmetrical. So I don't know, is this like a ring and the inside's a portal? Or is this just whole thing like some kind of weird cloaking craft, shaped like that, with little elements that come and go from it? I don't know. See what you think. All right, this gets really weird northwest. It was kind of a, overcast looking sky. But again, these don't look like natural clouds. And I saw a darker form here at A, and we look to the right, and this is why it grabbed my attention. It's, again, a rigid form, straight lines. I'm not exactly sure what this thing is. There's a little triangle with it as well. Another little triangle over here. See what you think is going on in this scene. I'm going to zoom in on that element, and here we see, like 2 separate triangular forms. Very distinct. And it looks like they're all like connected to this thing, or it's a vapor trail and this thing came flying. This thing came probably flying, down off of whatever's going on, cloaked back in here, is my guess. Oh, also look at the crazy color signature. So from that overall gray, we've got a burst of like white energy, green and, green and yellow. It's all very strange. This looks like an object over here as well, cloaking. All right, now we're looking off to the distance in the northwest, and just really strange cloud forms once again. And, look at these little elements. This looks to me like 2 uniform and hugging together to be just some independent cloud. It's very rigid. Looks like it's a design element at D.1 and then B.1 as well. We've got things moving at different directions. And then look at C. So just by virtue that we have 3 totally different patterns of what's supposed to be cloud, all in the same vicinity, tell me we're not dealing with just cloud. And look, even over here at 8.1, we've got concentric curves that look like hard and rigid elements that are just popping out of a bigger cloaking cloud mass. So I'm going to call this a bigger cloaking craft, and these also, elements of other little craft. And this cylindrical thing might even be just craft itself. Hard to say. Or this might be part of a bigger craft, and we're just seeing elements of it popping out. See what you think. Zooming in again, and this is what I mean. D.2 does not look like B.2, does not look like C.2, and they're all within the same, vicinity. So those can't be natural clouds. All right, now we're looking west, and this just was a weird thing doing its own thing. So we look at it with enhancement. We start to see some very interesting things, like these two parallel lines just shooting off of whatever this thing is. And then look at the different color signatures, the different texture, the different level of solidity or transparency of these things. And then look at C.1. It looks like a hardened, like flattened triangular form. And it looks like whatever this is just like holding it, like it reached up and grabbed it. It's just really strange. C.1, there's something strange going on here as well. So we zoom in on this overall weird scene and see what I mean? It looks like this darker object just like is going up and grabbing this thing, almost like somebody grabbing a taco in their hand. I don't know what all of this is. This looks like a triangular form that just shot up out of this bigger mass. So again, are these standalone craft, or are they instrumentation? Are they some kind of sensors that go out and check the air quality or whatever, or go scout other things? I don't know. And then this is looking really strange back here. Yeah, see what you see in that scene. Okay, this doesn't look like much because there's so much particulate, but it could detect these weird lines in the sky. So there we go. And oh, more than weird lines, there's also this weird white glow. It's a certain luminescence that seems very otherworldly that I catch every so often, and that's why I spotted it. Here it is right there. So just by virtue of a strange lighting, color, and feel in the sky, I felt like this is, again, more than meets the eye. Has got to be some type of cloaking craft. Again, we have a really straight stick-like element at D.1 doing a weird thing at the end. And look at this. This has like, again, parallel lines at the back. And it almost looks like some kind of bioorganism or some kind of organism. Really, really weird. Anyway, see what you see there. All right, this was just a weird pattern, as you can see on the left-hand side, straight line, just kind of these clean breaks in between whatever's supposed to be happening here. It didn't look natural. I looked to the right, and I didn't really focus on these three elements so much as kind of looking at what the voids are going on up in here by A. And I can start to see like a straight line interrupting this color, burst here. So I don't really have any answers on this one, just some, strange observations. Just a strange scene, felt weird. Have, very different color signatures going on in the same vicinity. A little triangular chunk here. See what you see in that scene. All right, now here's one of the alternate cover slides that I had called Cloud, excuse me. Okay, I had to clear my voice. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to clear my voice. It's really too late for this, but oh well, I'm back. Anyway, this was the Cloud in quotes Thunderbird alternate cover slide I had. And so on the left-hand side, this is to the naked eye, the original. Hang on one more time. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. So this is the original, and I could see these hard lines, these kind of voids that looked like from this point of view. And then with enhancement to the right, they come out even clearer. And what the heck is going on here? So, at E.1 it's curved, D.1 it's curved another way. We've got a straight line coming across this way while this element is going more or less perpendicular. So all of that movement cannot happen with a typical cloud. We have a little, weird breakaway thing happening at F.1 as well. So here's another example where I did a shorts, kind of going on the Thunderbird theme, or if you're an Avatar fan, the movie with the Blue Panther people, they called it Toruk Makto, the guy, the writer of The Last Shadow, the big bird, like a Thunderbird idea. Anyway, see what you see in the scene, something weird's happening at A.1 as well. We're going to look at it again. So that's just, again, with no enhancement. And look at, there's like a really dark element over here, like an opening. And here you can see it better right there. So what the heck is this thing? Are we dealing with some kind of like prehistoric pterodactyl-like thing or pteranodon type thing coming in and out of dimension? And anyhow, or is this just a cloak and craft, one big one? Or is it several different, like tubular or cylindrical cloak and craft that are like docking all up together and traveling together through the sky? There could even be more, possibilities. I do think it's several different craft kind of docking onto one thing and moving along, because even this down here looks like an independent craft with like two parallel legs at the back, docked to something. But I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But I can tell you that 8.1 is a definite machine part, because that's like true black. And that doesn't happen unless there's some kind of holes or openings in some of these things that I've been looking at in the sky. And we've got a real rigid straight line leading up to it with a point. And again, another point echoing down here. And we don't get points. We don't get tips of triangles in natural organic clouds. Here we zoomed in. I forgot I zoomed in. So here it looks like two little holes next to each other. And look at these straight lines. Anyway, see what you see is going on in this overall scene. All right, this I'm not going to spend too much time on because I have to research and see what was going on. I think at C.1 it was Mars, but it wasn't behaving like Mars. And these two quote-unquote stars were not behaving like typical stars. And I did see something very atypical moving across the sky right before I took this picture. So I'm going to check my video and do a little more research and present this again maybe at another time if something yielded, concrete enough in the photos worth talking about. Here it is with some enhancement, and again, I'll get back to this later. That'll be a placeholder. All right, well, this is the photo of the day and the close of the show, and this is a Lysiloma tree at night lit up. And I just want to say thanks for standing by here a while. I hope you enjoyed some of these images, and in the meantime, as always, I wish you tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther, bye.